Confessions revival.
Yes.
Now,
Made with the band, the Confessions.
I was listening to this over the weekend. It's almost, of course, I'm getting close to 50.
Okay.
Listening to
This is not a problem.
I know. By the way, happy birthday.
Thank you very
Radney
much.
just turned 50.
I did indeed.
And listening to this, it's almost like listening to an LP because every song is a journey. It's a step up.
Well, that was intentionally done that way. I know that's a dying art form in one sense because of the way downloads work, and people just go in and download the 3 or 4 that they like off of a CD a lot. But we wanted to make it a whole journey and make it make sense. I kind of went through a roller coaster of life that most people go through sooner or later.
Is it because you're going to hit 50?
Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, in the last 2 years, I lost my dad, but my son, who's been living in France for 13 years, came home and is a freshman in college, not 2 miles from my house.
Wow.
So I've got the upside of the roller coaster, and I've got the downside of the roller coaster. And in normal fashion, I just wrote about the whole darn thing. And I told somebody, I said, certainly it's not a gospel record, but I think those kinds of elements in your life give you a spiritual gut check. And if they don't, you probably need a pulse check, And so it did me, and there's certainly, I grew up singing and playing in church as much as I grew up singing and playing in bars. And so there's more of a gospel element and feel to this record than there was before. There's still the whole stone cold honky tonk and R&B and rock and everything else I throw in there is an influence, but it's and it has a little more gospel flavor.
Well, what a journey! Now you've also made a documentary about the making of the
We did indeed. I made it with an award-winning. Actually, he's a Sundance award-winning filmmaker. He's no slouch. He really knows what he's doing. But, it's his name is Jeff Horney, and he's from San Antonio, Texas, and he directed the film. And I.
He's calling right now, by the way.
Oh yeah, and I apologize profusely. Sorry so much.
That's okay.
But he and I made the film, and it's a labor of love, no doubt. But it also it tells about sort of my story of career and how we made this record. We shot 22 hours of footage just within the studio, and probably another 50 hours all over the state of Texas. And the central theme, I think, of it that's beyond just a piece about the making of one of my records is we asked everybody. There's 2 titles on the record. One called A Little Revival, and the other is a song called Forgiveness. And we took those 2 songs, and we sometimes played them for people and sometimes not, but asked them the central question, what does revival, 2 questions, what does revival mean to you, and what does forgiveness mean to you? And they come from all walks of life, from a drunk guy standing in a bar to recovering alcoholics to former prostitutes to CEOs to DJs to priests. Everybody from every walk of life and from lots of different faiths or no faith. You'd be amazed at what their responses are, and that's woven all within the film.
Now, is this film going to be released nationally, or how do you?
We're hoping to. I mean, right now we're going through. We just finished it, and it's. It's certainly available to buy as a DVD on my website, which is RadneyFoster.com, and they can also get the CD there. But it also we're going through the whole film festival process, and that's where you find out, if someone wants to distribute it or get it out nationally into theaters or art houses, or even just distribute the DVD through, Amazon and those kinds of things.
That's pretty cool. Now, I'm going to ask you about Darius Rucker. You know him.
Yeah, very, very well.
Is it true that Darius was attending a Foster and Lloyd concert and was heckling you from the front row? He told me that story.
True. This is true. Now, Darius Rucker was, at the time, I did not know him from Adam's House Cat at that point. And but Darius Rucker was a kid working in a record store in college, and Foster and Lloyd was playing at a bar called Green Streets in South Carolina. And I always, when you're in a college bar full of kids who've been imbibing alcohol, there's a good possibility you're going to have hecklers in the thing. You want to hear their song over and over for whatever reason, right? This is not an unusual situation, and we learn to deal with it as performers, and that's no big deal. So everybody was having a great time. Show is sold out. Darius Rucker is late because he had to close the record store. And by the time it gets, and he keeps, muscling his way towards the front, and he's a pretty good sized guy, and is by the time it gets to the end of the show, he's a little lit, and I think, and he just keeps, yelling out, "You can come crying to me. You gotta play. You can come crying to me," which was a Foster and Lloyd song and his favorite, and he says, we're not playing it basically, because we already have, and then like we get to the encore, and he comes back out and goes, "You gotta play. You can come crying to me," and I said, "Man, I just explain." It's like, "Dude, we already played it. You were late, and he goes, "Man, I'm the only black guy in this bar. You mean you can't play my song?" And I started laughing so hard. I was like, "That's the best excuse I've ever heard." I told Bill, I said, "He's right. This is the greatest heckler excuse I have ever heard. You win. Done. You win." And so here we go. And 10 years go by.
Right.
I've met him. He's a huge fan of Del Rio, Texas, 1959, my first solo record. And, I've been out on tour with Hootie and the Blowfish. We're in the back of the bus at a Hootie and Blowfish gig, years later, and he sheepishly goes, "Do you remember playing?" "You were that guy! Oh my God, you were that guy!" "Oh no, it's a true story." He's like, and it took him. He knew me for 5 or 6 years before he could ever get up the gumption to tell me the story that he was that guy. I've never laughed so hard in my whole life, and I have just. And now he's just realized that, God, this is the comics of life, So he tells the story on himself, So it is a true story. Yeah.
Well, he was in a few weeks ago, and we're trying to. He wants to do a recut.
Oh, he told me. He said he wants to remake Del Rio, Texas, 1959 from top to bottom. It's his favorite country record of all time.
Maybe I'm trying talking into cutting the song, Making Up As I Go.
Oh, Making Up As I Go Along. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Yeah,
You know what? That would work. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. He has a song that I wrote in the stack for the next record, but who knows? He's got lots of songs in the stack for the next record. So, and everyone in the world is trying to get songs to him.